All right, I think we're live. Hey guys, hey everyone coming in. It's just gonna be about 5 more minutes before we actually begin, but I wanted to play you some royalty-free music in the meantime and just get you all settled as I put my screen on a few interesting Ethereum charts in the meantime. So Get Cozy is going to be about an hour of talking about the market. The first part of the video is going to be us kind of talking about what we saw in the past couple of days, especially with Ethereum and Bitcoin and a couple of alts. And then in the second part of the stream, we're going to ask you guys to ask us questions about the market, about the coins that you're currently looking into, maybe looking to get in, looking to get out. If you're interested, what their short-term potential might be. That's gonna be what we're gonna be discussing from a fundamental perspective in the other half of the video. So yeah, get cozy, get some coffee, and we'll be starting in about 5 minutes or so. So in the meantime, there's some nice music. think we're all here. Brian, let me know if the link has been shared all over the place so I can start recording and we can get to work.
It's good to go.
Okay, let me check if everything's good with the stream and we can start.
Who came out with the name Revenge of the Top Caps?
It was I.
Cool. Well done. Well done.
Why not? It might just happen. You never know. We're gonna talk about it today. Anyway,
we'll see.
Looks like we are good. Recording starting. Stream seems to be live and stable. All right, I think we can start. Okay, while people are still coming in, hello everyone and welcome to another edition of This Week in Crypto. If this is your first time here, basically this is a weekly call where the Santiment team and sometimes our community members come around and discuss recent crypto market events. But we do this from a different perspective. We put a lot of fundamental data into it rather than just relying on price-based indicators, technical analysis. We kind of combine a variety of different sources of information to try and really figure out what is going on in the market, what is the behavior of the various stakeholders involved, and today we're going to talk about some of these things. So if you haven't used Santiment before, we've developed dozens, even hundreds, I dare say, of tools and custom metrics, including on-chain, social media, and development indicators over the last 3 years. All of this is with the idea of helping you understand the behavior of different market stakeholders better. So for example, here, you're looking at app.santiment.net, our flagship platform, where these are the 5 different sources of information that you can use to evaluate a certain cryptocurrency. So other than just basic financial data, there's a variety of custom metrics that we've developed, including social data, on-chain data, development activity data, and as of recently, derivatives information as well. So I suggest strongly, if you haven't used Santiment before, checking out santiment.net after or during this call. And also join our Discord. The link is going to be in the description of this video. If you don't want to wait another 7 days to hear us talk, and just not hear us talk, but also talk to us about the market, we basically talk about this stuff every day in our trading channels. So why wait, right? Okay. So without much further ado, what's going to happen over the next 30 minutes or so is we're going to dive into a couple of different topics, including Ethereum, Bitcoin, and one of the hottest coins of the previous week you might or might not have heard of. And after that, we're gonna open it for Q&A. So everybody here that's just coming in, if you have any sort of questions or suggestions of different coins or digital assets that you want us to take a quick look into, give our opinions on as far as what we think might happen, short term, long term, let us know in the chat. And we're going to be discussing that in the second portion of this stream. So, if you're wondering where, for example, Link is at the moment from a fundamental perspective, what's its network activity like, what is the crowd thinking about Link at the moment, what's its development activity, all of those and different metrics, we can kind of take a quick look over the next 30 minutes. So before that, though, we're going to talk about, like I said, 3 different topics. The title of this video is Revenge of the Top Caps, with the idea being that we are now finally seeing a slight revival of the biggest 2 cryptocurrencies in the world, mainly Ethereum, although Bitcoin has kind of started at least slightly trending upwards over the last couple of days as well. But Ethereum is really the one that's been driving this latest rally. So the reason behind the rally, I think, at least in my mind, is pretty clear. And it's the fact that we've gotten news of when the testnet for Ethereum 2.0 is going to be launched. It's going to be launched on August 4th, and its name is, I think, Mandela, based on the metro station is it Bogota, Colombia? I'm not sure. No, it's in Buenos Aires. Anyway, the idea is that over the next maybe 2 weeks, we are probably going to see some, pump schedule for Ethereum start to emerge. This is, classic testnet / mainnet buy the rumors, sell the news type of hype, at least in my opinion. But obviously the question remains, why did we stop at this level? Why didn't we go higher? Or, were there any sort of indicators that we might be approaching a very quick either a correction or a short-term consolidation? And a few days ago, actually I think it was 2 days ago, right after the spike here happened, we posted a few tweets that got published also on a few different crypto media publications like Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, and just all over the place, talking about why we thought that Ethereum, even despite this sudden rise, it stopped at a certain point. So we were keeping a close eye on a variety of Ethereum-based metrics while this pump was going on, and we very quickly noticed a few concerning patterns. So the first thing that we noticed, I'm actually going to cancel this MVRV ratio for a while. We're going to come back to it. The first thing we noticed is Ethereum's exchange inflow, and let me look into the last, pretty much ever since the Ethereum's consolidation started. And this is what you get. So Ethereum's exchange inflow essentially is looking at the amount of Ethereum that's been moving to centralized exchange wallets over a certain period of time. So here you can see this very high spike in the amount of Ethereum being moved to exchanges. At this point, I think it was, let me see if I can, yeah, it's 169,000. Overall, I think in this 24 hours, there was more than 300,000 Ethereum being moved to centralized exchange wallets as Ethereum was pumping. So actually, let me zoom in even more so you can see exactly when this happened. All right. This is a weekly view. And this is where we saw a massive spike in Ethereum's exchange inflow, right? So this was a first sign of worry for me personally. And we posted a few tweets on it saying that usually these spikes in exchange inflow indicate a rising sell pressure for the coin, for the underlying coin. It seems like a lot of people were not willing to wait any further up over 260. And if you actually look at it in the last, let's say the last 3 months, usually if I take mean dollar invested age, which is basically just looking at the times where people are either accumulating coins or distributing coins. So when you see these dips in mean dollar invested age, without going into too much detail right now about how this metric is calculated, what it's showing, the rising slope indicates a network-wide accumulation, and then these declining slopes indicate at least short-term trend shifts towards distribution. So you can see that we saw dips in mean dollar invested age here at 250, and then once again here at 250, and then here at 260. So it seems like these are the usually in the past 3 months at least have been price points at which the general network users of Ethereum have started moving their coins more aggressively between addresses and also moving them to exchanges. So once again, back to the exchange inflow, we can see a massive spike in the exchange inflow for Ethereum right as it stopped moving any further up. I think it's essentially because Ethereum bulls very suddenly met this major sell wall and sell pressure, and were not really able to absorb it immediately afterwards. And then we saw another spike in exchange inflow when Ethereum started moving above 270 once again. It was relatively smaller, but it's still very prominent. However, there was one other spike that we noticed here, which didn't happen here, which I think also kind of contributes to the reason why Ethereum stopped this second part of its push, and that is a spike in age consumed. So there we go. So you can see this pretty big spike in Ethereum's age consumed, which tracks the sudden movement of previously dormant coins. So when you see spikes in this age consumed graph, what that indicates is that coins that have not been moved for a substantial amount of time, basically they were sitting idly in certain wallets, have now started to move again. And usually these spikes in age consumed can very often indicate major shifts in the behavior of long-term traders, veteran traders, even maybe ICO participants. And when they start moving their coins, it's very rarely without reason. So the spike in H consumed is relatively correlated with the spike in exchange inflow as well, which since then kind of correlated with a short-term correction for Ethereum as well. So these were first signs of worry for us that we might see a slight either correction or consolidation here, and then once again we might see a difficult opportunity for Ethereum to push upwards. So this is the first sort of part of our analysis where we thought, okay, there might be challenges ahead for Ethereum. Now, I wanted to also show what Ethereum whales have been doing in this meantime, which is also quite, I don't know, I still don't want to say concerning, but definitely of interest. So what you're seeing right now is the total balance of the top 100 wallets that are holding Ethereum. But these are non-exchange wallets. So here on SandData, you can actually choose between exchanges and non-exchanges. And we took the top 100 addresses that do not belong to exchanges. And we are looking at their collective balance here at the peak. This is year to date. At the peak, it was about 22.6 million. And they were pretty much in the accumulation stage ever since the Black Thursday dump. They seem to be fairly confident in the price of Ethereum short to midterm. Over the past 3 or 4 days, though, it's been a completely different story. So here, we posted a tweet when the amount of Ethereum being held in these wallets came up to here or down to here, which was basically 900,000 Ethereum being moved away from the top 100 wallets between July 19th and July 21st. This was even before the rally really started progressing, which I think might have been due to some pre-pump positioning, people that were maybe even in the know about the testnet announcement, kind of trying to get ahead of the crowd. Then in the meantime, we've also seen in the past day or so another dip of about, I want to say, 500,000 Ethereum additionally being moved away from these wallets. So how many of those actually ended up on exchanges is still up to some debate. When we switch to the holdings of the biggest 100 exchange wallets of Ethereum, we can definitely see an uptrend here. And if we look at the actual amount of Ethereum being held on exchanges in the past couple of days, we can also see a pretty big or steep rise, indicating that at least some of the whales are probably looking to cash in on the the first time that Ethereum went above 260 in the last 4 months. So let me show you the 6-month view here. Yeah, so this is what Ethereum supply and exchanges looks like in the past couple of days. You can see it very clearly rising alongside the actual price action here. So another concerning sign is that whales have been moving their holdings for the first time pretty much ever since Black Thursday happened. They have started aggressively offloading or at least moving some of their bags. And then finally, I wanted to show what the Ethereum miners are doing, which obviously I think this is more of a long-term pattern or a long-term impact on the market, what Ethereum miners are doing. But I think even on a short-term scale, it can sometimes coincide with local tops for Ethereum. So this is a 6-month, actually maybe an 8-month view, and you can see the pink line being the total balance held by Ethereum mining pools, and green obviously being the price of Ethereum. So you can definitely see that Ethereum miners start to offload their bags at some opportune times for them. But usually these downswings in miner balances tend to correlate with local tops for Ethereum. It happened here, it happened here, it happened here as well. And now we've seen once again, Ethereum miners starting to offload parts of their bags. This is still not a major sort of dip, I would say, but it's around 20,000 Ethereum, I think, being moved, maybe even a bit more, about 30,000 Ethereum now, being moved from Ethereum miners' addresses in the past 4 days alone. So it definitely seems like the first actual rally for Ethereum in about 3 months has really startled the market a little bit. It seems like both the general speculators are active once again. They're moving their coins to exchanges quite aggressively. Miners are starting to dump a little bit of their bags. Whales are starting to dump a lot of their bags. How many of those to exchanges? I still need to do some additional research, but we definitely see a spike in exchange holdings. And then on the other hand, we are seeing long-term holders also starting to move their coins, as I showed in the age consumed. So all of these things combined, I think just from a fundamental perspective, even if you don't really look at what has been going on Ethereum's price action and TA charts, I think is reason enough to believe that there was strong push against Ethereum's price moving upward at these levels. This obviously doesn't mean that it can move upward once again. I think as far as Ethereum's general network activity, it's still fairly strong. However, this is, I think, a way that you guys can look into a specific market event and try to figure out whether on a short-term scale we are headed for another breakout or if we're going to slow down for a bit. So that's as far as some of the things or some of the metrics that I've been looking at over the last couple of days that I wanted to point out, because I think it's fairly clear why Ethereum had to stop where it stopped rather than pushing upwards. Now, before we go into some additional information about both Ethereum and Bitcoin, I want to point out once again to you guys that after our presentation here, we are going to be taking questions from you, from the crowd, about what you want us to talk about. So if you have any ideas or questions about specific coins that you want to look at from this sort of perspective, what's been going on with its network activity, with its whales, exchanges, let us know in the chat and we'll get to all of them after the first part of this call. So Brian, I'm gonna switch it up to you now. I'm gonna stop. Actually, I haven't even been presenting. I hope you guys on the call were able to see what I was showing. I forgot to present, yeah, but the people on the stream were able to, so that's what matters. So if you want, Brian, you can start sharing your screen, and we can go into some additional data about Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Sweet, thanks, Dino. And I'll keep my segment here a little short because I know we're going to jump into Wi-Fi and Max and May say a few words as well, and then we're going to get into questions. So I'm going to start with a quick recap of the last 72 hours of the markets. As we can see here, it's up 12% over the last 3 days, which is great, especially when you consider that Bitcoin, if I can get it highlighted, Bitcoin was only up 1.5. So pretty stark comparison there, considering they've basically worked in tandem for most of the last 2.5 months or so. So this is a pretty notable separation. Obviously, the market and the crypto community at large got very hyped around this. But to give it some perspective, this is the 12% gain of Ethereum. And then we still see, coins like Flexicoin going up 49% over 72 hours, Digibyte 24%, in the opposite direction for something like Ampleforth. Obviously, altcoins, especially DeFi, have been swinging much larger than this one was for Ethereum over the last, not just 72 hours, but over the last few months. They've been seeing better swings than this. But the reason Ethereum got so much hype is, first of all, this smaller percentage is still a much larger market cap because there are a lot more owners, obviously, of the number 2 market cap than something that's in the 70s, right? And looking at the 30-day chart, you can see just what kind of perspective this is on a more macro scale. It's up 16%, whereas you can see that Elrond is still 225, Swipe 308, Aurora 350, just tons and tons of huge swings in the crypto market. So I want to show that really quick, even on the 90-day perspective, right? Ethereum plus 40%, but that still pales in comparison to what some of these other smaller projects have done. And keep in mind, a lot of this was due to recovery after Black Thursday, where these projects flushed a lot more than the top market cap, so they had more room to bounce back up as well. Now, going over to this model, this is known as the thresholds cross model that we made way back 6-8 months ago, but have seldom talked about because, frankly, Ethereum has been pretty boring and there hasn't been much to really note. But with this breakout in the last week, we wanted to revisit and show that over the last, the entire history of Ethereum, we've seen this current zone we're in from 200 to 300 as the most polarizing price point, because that's where we've had the most crosses, but this is crossing both above and below the 200 mark, 250 mark, and 300 mark respectively. We're currently we've crossed above the 250 threshold for the first time in, I believe it was just a couple months ago. We scraped above it and then fell back below again. So know that when we cross 300, that's our most common occurrence, right, in the course of history. But if we cross 350, this sort of translates over to the TA side, where we'll see 350 as kind of a support level and a breakout level that hasn't been crossed in a very long time. And it'll be a psychological breakthrough, in my opinion, that will kind of open the floodgates, assuming all the other fundamentals look good, to cross above these larger levels that we haven't hit in quite some time. So this is another model available to Sandbase Pro members that they use to sort of give some historical context on what's going on. Moving over to daily active addresses. So for those of you who've tuned in over the last few weeks, we've been talking about this often with Ethereum. The bullish divergence has been very apparent because it's been getting lots and lots of daily active address output compared to its price, because its price wasn't moving, but its daily active addresses continued to go up. And when that happens, we see these neon green signals telling us that a breakout is imminent. And you know, over time, if I look at just the last 2 years here, yeah, you can see anytime these neon greens hit, price shortly followed. This bunch here, and then our latest bunch here, we were saying this would be the first time that we really didn't see a price surge following this. And sure enough, eventually it did. And this is what we want to see. And I highly recommend keeping a close eye on daily active addresses in context to what the price is doing, because you're going to find a lot of information, not just for Ethereum, but assets like Link, which had its big surge shortly after it hit its neon green. Bitcoin has mostly been neutral, as we can see here, with some reds mixed in. And that's why Bitcoin has sort of stayed flat. So very interesting stuff there on the daily active addresses side. NVT, really quick, just a reminder, Ethereum is working on its third straight month of a bullish divergence, showing we are getting an excess of unique token circulation. Bitcoin, on the other hand, still bearish. So that's concerning. Keep in mind, though, the last 3 days, these hash marks are below these little trend lines here. And that's what causes this red bar to move down into green territory eventually. But yeah, Ethereum, as we can see, opposite side of the spectrum to Bitcoin. And that's been part of the reason it's been able to surge as much as it has. MVRV. We look at 15 projects that are showing the average returns over buyers from the last 30 days and buyers from the last year. In blue here is the 30 days, red is the 1 year MVRV. As we can see, lots and lots of positive returns for the 1 year investors, but blue is a lot more neutral. We can see Bitcoin barely above at about 3%, Ethereum 11.5%. And then look at the 1 year for Golem. For those of you who are tracking the charts right now, you might have noticed that Golem just had a little mini breakout and it went about plus 10%. This is something I've personally been waiting on for quite a while because the MVRV returns are so low. And when this happens, it's usually a good buy opportunity, whereas something like Chainlink, I'm sorry to the Chainlink army fans who are here, it's very, very much in the green for the average investor over the last year, where they've made over 6x their money. So this doesn't necessarily mean that Chainlink's about to fall back to earth, but it means it does display a higher risk of something being a little too high in the stratosphere. So another great model that our Sandbase Pro users can use, keep in mind both Golem, Binance Coin, and OmiseGo are the 3 assets that are showing the most opportunity here for the long term to bounce back But keep in mind, this ignores things like fundamentals, daily active addresses, development activity, other things. It's a pure price report on the average investor returns. That being said, yeah, that's it from my end. I wanted to keep my end brief this time, but
Thanks, Brian. I think you cut off there at the end, but yeah, thanks for the presentation. If you wanna stop presenting your screen, yeah, mic dropped off. Yeah, figured that as much. So anyway,
I think, Dina, you need to take over.
oh, I just realized that I didn't unmute myself. I was talking to nobody. Okay, thanks a lot for the presentation, Brian. So before we move on to another topic, once again, for everybody just tuning in about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes maybe, we're going to start just entertaining questions from the chat. Any coins that you're looking into that you're not really sure where they're headed, or you want to know what we think about their short, mid, or long-term potential from a fundamental perspective, let us know in the chat, and then we're going to be talking about it in the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Before that, though, we can't really talk about what happened this week without talking about a coin that I'm still not sure how to pronounce. Some people are calling it Wi-Fi, some are calling it Wi-Fi, some are calling it I-Fi. I have no idea. It's we wrote an insight about it regardless, without really, I don't think, knowing exactly how it's pronounced. So for those of you that have not really been paying attention to the DeFi craze over the past 7 days at the very least, you might have missed that a completely brand new coin has been issued by the the developer behind Yearn Finance, and it's currently at around trading at around 2.3K dollars. It's actually dropped to, I think, as low as 1.5K before bouncing up once again. So it's actually holding its value fairly strong so far. Now, I think I now completely grasp what Wi-Fi actually is and how it works, but our chief DeFi correspondent, I would call it here, is Kelvin. So Kelvin, if you want to jump into here and explain to all of us exactly what Wi-Fi is, how it works, and why everybody's going crazy about it, and what you think might happen next. If you want to share a screen, I'll hand it off to you.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, just let me share this screen one moment. Trying to look for the screen. Okay. Right. Let me see. Okay. I think I want to keep this short because I think the Maxim is still coming up. So, in a nutshell, Wi-Fi is something that makes you money. Good ton of money. All right. Now, but for real,
That is the shortest speech ever.
Very good pitch.
Yes. It is straightforward. That it is the only thing right now on the DeFi market that gives you the highest yield. Where this yield comes from, I think you guys should just go read the article that we have came out with already. It's much more beneficial than me going over all these things. But other than that, is if people have used Curve.finance before, they might be familiar with the Y pool. So Yearn.finance, actually, the Y pool belongs to them, or Andre, the creator of this Yearn.finance and Wi-Fi itself. So if you have used this pool, you know that this is one of the best pools on Curve.finance to use, because it gives you the best use. And just quickly, how it does that is by taking whatever you deposit, and it actually goes around and search all the other platforms and whatever protocols that are out there and find the best use in that area, and then deposit it over there, ensuring that you get the best use eventually. So think of it as like an automated yield aggregator. So that's what it does, and that's what the entire ecosystem does. There's an entire whole suite of let me see, where is it? There's an entire whole suite of systems that's being built out, and it's being released like almost on a daily basis. He's coding very fast, and he's always testing in production. So do note that whatever that's being churned out, it is as safe as until it's hacked or until it's exploited. So for now, audits needs to be made. There's risk involved, tons of risk involved, but that's not stopping people from putting around, I think, 300 million and locking it into the Wi-Fi ecosystem. So that's that. In a nutshell, what Wi-Fi kind of is the governance token as well for this wired ecosystem. It is, let's see what else. Yeah, so what you guys need to know right now is that the price, of course, is over here. It launched with 30,000 total supply, but the good thing is the proposal, the community have decided that they do not want it to limit to 30,000 as a supply, because this supply will actually finish sometime this week. As you can see over here, there's 3 different pools that have 10,000 each, and right now the first pool is finishing already. It left only, I think, 898 right now, and the total circulating supply is almost out already. I think we have like another 8,000 plus left to be mined. This token can be mined by providing liquidity to the Wi-Fi ecosystem. And so what the community is doing right now is that they are looking to let's see, what's this? Nope, not that. Nope, not this. They're actually looking to propose the new supply and the inflation rate and the emission schedule and whatnot. There's a lot of things happening right now in this Wi-Fi ecosystem, because people are comparing it to kind of like the launch of Bitcoin, where it's really up to the community. Someone's just building things and just leaving it there, and it's up to the community to decide whether something works or something doesn't work, whether the emission is going to be like this, or whether some components supposed to be removed. There's a lot of components going around right now. It's best to visit their governance forum to really learn more about it and try to get a brief idea on what's going on with them, or even join their community. That's the best way, because every 2 hours or so, something new comes out. It's very robust, and everyone's participating a lot in changing and forming this ecosystem right now. So yeah, the important things right now is that there will be new supply, but they are discussing, okay, what we should do, what they should be distributing, whether it's going to be like a Bitcoin kind of style, halving it every as the weeks go by, or some other schedules. Right now, I don't know what's going on too much, because so many things are developing. But more importantly, what is important is this proposal 10. Why is this important? Is because right now the voting mechanism that's being used is actually not the Wi-Fi token, as ironic as it is, because it's supposed to be the governance token, but no. It's current. The Wi-Fi token's purpose right now, from the different cases that they have implemented, is actually to collect, to stake it, to collect the fee rewards that the YN stock finance ecosystem gets. So that was the only thing. So it doesn't seem to make sense. Now the community is trying to vote in this proposal to implement that Wi-Fi is the only governance token, instead of and I don't want to go too in depth onto things. They are using another token to cast votes right now, which is actually balancer pool token. Yeah, so that is that, but I think you guys need to read the article to find out more. I don't want to confuse too much. But yeah, so this is important, and I think the proposal 12 is also important, because the current quorum is set to 33%, and there are some important proposals that are failing to be passed, even though I think the votes were in the right direction. So they are looking to actually lower this down to 20%, so that they can actually get things done. Else, yeah, none of the votes that are actually good and people do vote for actually do get passed. So this too should make a good change. And as I mentioned before, Andre, who is the creator of this entire Wire ecosystem, he is shipping stuff at lightning speeds. And yes, just I think today, if I'm not wrong, yeah, I think it's today. Yeah, he announced that there will be Wire Finance V2. This is pretty interesting because of I think this part here. So yeah, so apparently I think you can go earn you without earn you for something else, like in this case DAI, but not needing to supply DAI, but instead you're supplying whatever collateral they are supporting, and this YDAI can then go earn the yield that DAI is supposed to earn. I think in a nutshell, I've just had a glimpse of it. Haven't fully read the details, so don't count on me on this. But yeah, just check. I think Andre's Medium, and you will find it, and you can read it. But he just noticed his style is that he's going to just write briefly as well, only on a certain thing, and he just throws it out, and it's really up to the community to understand what is going on as well. Yeah, so I think that in a nutshell is pretty much what Wire is, what's happening, and where we are at right now.
Thanks,
Back
Colin.
to you.
Yeah, the DeFi space is kind of exploding at an exponential rate right now. If you miss a week of DeFi action, you're pretty much coming to a completely new space. Like if somebody took a break for a week and came here today, he would, I think, not be able to compute the market or understand the space as good as he's used to. So it's very interesting to see. There's a lot of talks now about whether it's kind of starting to form a bubble, how much of the valuations of these governance DeFi coins are, overblown or overvalued. But for now, though, Wi-Fi seems to be the next big thing in DeFi space. Not saying that it's necessarily its price action is going to appreciate, but it's definitely the talk of the town at the moment. So as Kelvin mentioned already, guys, there's a great, very detailed article that we've published on Wi-Fi a few days ago, going into details about what it does, how it makes people money, and what is in the near future as far as the protocol itself is concerned. So definitely check that out. It's available for free on insights.santiment.net, I think. Okay, with that in mind, we are now 40 minutes in the discussion, so I think it's a good time to start jumping into some Q&A and looking around a few coins and thinking, trying to figure out where they are at the moment. So the first coin that I saw being requested here is RDN, which I believe is Raven, right? Yes, it is. So actually, I usually look at these myself, but Max, since you haven't talked a bit during this call. Do you want to jump in to share your screen and talk about how you would evaluate where RDN is at the moment from your own perspective?
I already answered in the chat that Raiden is under radar. It means still unknown to wider community. And it is good and it is bad. Good in a way, it has potential.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, why no one cares? Oh, okay, why not so many people cares? Because as we covered now DeFi and all this growing incentive mechanism, which people developing, Raiden is missing it. Yeah. And what they're basically offering is extended line of credit, let's put it this way. But it's already working in DeFi now with much more hype around and committed community. So they will have a difficult time. But it doesn't mean that they will not change it. They can change the approach. And they're very smart people. I know. It's all friends. Yeah. So from point of a relatively fundamental point of view, they're challenged greatly. Like many projects, us including us, Santiment as a token, we're challenged quite nicely. So we're working on our way to upgrade our sub token economy. They're working in the way, I'm sure about it. Now, you show the charts. Let's look into the charts.
Okay.
I mean, charts is our behavior metrics, yeah?
Right. Yeah, let's first of all just the daily active addresses. At the very least,
okay.
They seem to be
that looks topish.
here.
Well, you know, yeah. Unless we wait, we can wait one more day to see if that was divergence or not. But that looks like the top hype was what was it? 10th of July. Yeah, we can see.
Here.
Yeah, 12th of July. I don't know what happened, unless they did some distribution or whatever. You can also see, you can see let's say transaction volume or coin age consumed, just to make sure.
Let's see age consumed here. It always takes a while when I'm streaming. Okay, so let's okay. This is the last 3 months, so it should be good. So age consumed seems like it's not really. Yeah, it's fairly stable. We had one sort of spike here, but ever since then, not a lot of movement of old coins.
And then token holder structure.
Okay, let's look at. Let me first look at the transaction volume just to kind of see if there's actually what's going on chain. So currently, we're looking at when I click here on transaction volume. What we're actually looking at is not trading volume that you're used to. Is the amount of coins being moved on chain. So yeah, we can see that if anybody. So I haven't really followed Raiden all that closely, to be honest. So if anybody has an idea what happened here precisely, whether there was some sort of an event or announcement or maybe a competition of sorts. There definitely seemed to be a big spike in transaction volume as well as the amount of daily active addresses. I mean, it also just kind of coincided with the short-term consolidation here as well, so it might just be that. But yeah, since then we've seen a decreasing sort of activity on chain, and we've seen quite low transaction volume. So the actual amount of value being transmitted on Raiden remains fairly low, which is not great if you want the coin to pump from a fundamental perspective. You want the value that is being transacted and transmitted on the network to be fairly consistent with its price action. Looking at exchange inflow, okay, this was a huge spike right here. Let me try and isolate it, and then we can see actually what happened more recently. We can cancel out age consumed. Yeah, sorry for the a bit of lag, guys. It's because I am also streaming, so then it takes a while for these metrics to load. If somebody else wants to kind of take over, I think other people's computers might be faster because they're not streaming. All right, so we saw, yeah, so this here, it seems to me like this is why we saw Raiden stop here. So there was a massive spike in transaction volume and exchange inflow and daily active addresses right here a day before the correction here or the consolidation, indicating quite a bit of sell pressure and quite a bit of activity, which then kind of faded away, and the price was, it didn't really have enough fundamental support to start pushing until like here. And then over the past couple of days, yeah, a bit more in terms of exchange inflow, but not. Let's look at the supply on exchanges overall, if it's growing or not. Yeah, it's actually overall decreasing. Um, So here we see, even though there's a spike in exchange volume, the amount of Raiden on exchanges is actually decreasing, which means that speculators have been moving coins here, but even more people have been withdrawing coins from exchanges, which is actually good for the coin. Like usually, what you want to see is the supply on exchanges kind of start dwindling because all other things unchanged. It could indicate, that there's less coins available to trade, therefore potentially inflating the price of the coins that are, or the value of the coins that are actually still available on centralized exchanges. So we saw here the coin supply start to drop, and since then it's kind of stabilized at this new level, about 25%, 21% of the total circulating supply of RDN. But yeah, the overall, the daily active addresses, the network activity is, if we look at it, if we zoom out once again, let's look at sort of a midterm trend. So the good news is that Raden's daily active addresses have been kind of growing overall, right? So if you look at the trend over time, the actual amount of unique addresses and users interacting with the coin has been on an uptrend, which is good. It's not like a humongous amount. It's like 108. Here at the top, it was 250 addresses, which is for an altcoin with a relatively low market cap. That's not bad. It's not bad. So overall, I would say this decline in the daily active addresses and general network activity is what's concerning. And I think, Max, that's what you said as well. That right now, over the last couple of days, we're seeing the amount of activity in the network start decreasing quite rapidly. And usually what that kind of does to the price action is it disallows it from pumping upwards because there's not enough fundamental support to provide another push up. So for example, we can see here that there was in the previous sort of the stop here for it, and we saw the amount of daily active addresses rising up to a point, and then right around the top, the daily active addresses started declining. Now the price tried to push once again here, but it was doing so in a declining on-chain volume, which proved to be pretty much impossible, and therefore, there was a further downtrend. So unless we now see the amount of daily active addresses declining back to like almost its May levels. This day is not complete yet, so the data is incomplete. So take it with a grain of salt. But even right here, we're seeing it declining very quickly. So if this doesn't really pick up once again, it's going to be difficult, especially if the amount of coins being moved to exchanges continues to rise. It's going to be difficult for the price to bounce back once again. Now we can also look at the holder distribution, as Max said, and look at what different Raiden holders have been doing and how they've behaved. So this particular metric that you're going to see now looks at the number of addresses holding certain amount of Raiden coins. So what's the price of Raiden right now? First of all, let's look at that. It's 0.3, okay? So let's look at some of the larger holders of Raiden. Maybe from 10,000 onwards should be good. Okay, so this is what? This is last 3 months from April. Yeah. Okay. So the amount of addresses holding between 10,000 and 100,000 RDN, which is what? It's around $3,000 to $30,000 worth of RDN, has been growing and continues to grow actually into the rally. On the other hand, the actual larger whales, so anywhere between 30 to 300,000 worth of RDN, which is enough to for a small coin like RDN, it's more than enough to dump the price. The amount of these addresses has been declining since mid-July, and it's been on a downslope since. There was a small sort of spike once again here, but overall it seems like the trend is that these larger RDN holders are kind of fleeing ship into the rally, which is not necessarily what you want to see, right, Max? You would prefer that their holders, especially large holders, are keeping faithful to the coin during the rallies, like for example Chainlink's holders are. But for now, at least, RDN whales are kind of looking a bit sheepish at the moment, and the amount of whales is decreasing. All right, let's see. Yeah, I think we can move on to another coin because there's going to be quite a bit of time spent on each of those. So, okay, let's look next on, I think RPL was mentioned. Or I think he meant Ripple, right? Because later on you mentioned XRP. Okay, let's look at Ripple real quick. So Ripple is always a specific beast, and its daily active addresses usually look like this. Okay, let's zoom out of this massive spike here. Look what Ripple's on-chain activity has been like. Okay, so on-chain addresses over the last 3 months, disregarding that massive spike, look okay. I mean, we see quite a high activity here. What's this? This is 7,500 daily active addresses. So you can see kind of the difference between a small coin like RDN, whose DAA basically, or daily active addresses, peaked at 250, and a solid day for XRP is around 7,500. Let's look at a few other sort of fundamental metrics for XRP. Let's see what its age consumed is, which is going to tell us, whether the long-term XRP holders are moving their coins or not. Not really. The last time we saw long-term holders move their coins, was here, maybe a day or two before the correction. I mean, this is something that you'll see relatively often with the large coins when there's a huge spike in age consumed, especially given the market context here as XRP was kind of starting to dwindle a little bit. This could have been a few large XRP holders deciding to kind of maybe move into different coins, maybe Bitcoin, maybe DeFi, because this is basically the time that DeFi really started going crazy with Ren, Lend, a balancer, Compound publishing their or distributing their own token. So there's been a big spike here in token age consumed for Ripple before the correction, but so far not really. Like in the past couple of weeks, the Ripple holders have been just sitting on their bags, which is good for the long-term or mid-term price of the coin. Let's look at the mean dollar invested age chart. Yeah, this.
By the way, Dean, they mentioned in the chat it was not Ripple, it was RPL. Even though I don't know what RPL is, I'm asking. So there is a consensus that Ripple is shitcoin. At least in the chat. But anyway,
I'm not getting anything on RPL. Is that a coin that I'm not aware of? I don't know.
Neither did I ask what it is.
Okay.
RPL, guys, is a rocket pool coin. It was hidden on CoinMarketCap. I have just unhidden it and should appear on Sandbase soon.
Okay. Sorry. All right. I was like, okay, people want to maybe learn about XRP. I don't know. But okay, let's move on.
What is this pool? Yeah. What is this pool? Is it where ample forces and some kind of?
We also got a question. We got a question about XRP regardless from Decay.
Okay.
He said, could you also take a look at XRP? So let's do that regardless. I mean, the fundamentals so far are looking okay. The holders overall have been accumulating. So this, as I said, when you look at the mean dollar invested age, which is tracking the amount of movement of dormant coins, but in a different way. So both of these metrics are essentially trying to track what the holders on average are doing. So mean dollar invested age is doing it in a fairly different way, but essentially if you see the rising slope of mean dollar invested age, what that means is that on average people are holding their bags. And when you see dips, it's basically a move from accumulation into a distribution cycle. This was a very short one. It actually, what you would really want to see is a very big drop in distribution cycle before calling a top. But so far, ever since June 12th, so a month and a half ago, the Ripple holders on average have been holding their coins. Even here during the top, we haven't really seen any sort of signs of distribution or network-wide movement and activity of their coins. Let's look at the exchange data and exchange inflow for Ripple to see whether there's any elevated sell pressure happening recently. Okay. So we saw here a few spikes here at the local top before the correction, and yeah, we're actually seeing. Okay, let's zoom in so you can see this a bit clearer. Let's look at last week. Right. So there's been a slight sort of rise in the amount of XRP moving to exchanges during the price rally. There's been a few here. I would assume this is maybe capitulation because people, have been moved. This is what 22 million Ripple being moved right at its local bottom it seems to have been absorbed fairly effectively by the bulls, and then from there on we kind of went on to this pretty sustainable uptrend for it. And then recently, or most lately, we've seen a spike here before a correction. This was 12 million Ripple, which is okay. It's not, I mean, for Ripple, it's still a relatively high amount of coins being moved to centralized exchange wallets, and it doesn't seem to have been absorbed very well by the XRP bulls. But so far, after the fact, now it's kind of stopped. The sell pressure has stopped. We haven't really seen all too much being moved to exchanges. The daily active addresses and network activity is looking fine. Overall, the XRP holders are holding on to their bags. Let's look at MVRV real quick as a last sort of chart that I want to look at, and then afterwards I want to look at band because somebody mentioned it, and I love looking at band and its metrics. Okay, so what MVRV does for anyone not familiar with the metric that I'm about to show you is it tracks the average profit or loss of a certain number of holders. Okay, is our XRP MVRV bugged? It might be. Oh, I think it's bugged. Okay, sorry. Yeah, it shouldn't look like this. I think it's currently buggy a little bit. So maybe without looking into XRP's MVRV, I think we can kind of conclude that overall, I mean, it's looking okay. I'm not seeing I've seen some signs for a local top here, but I wouldn't be surprised for XRP to break out even higher if the fundamentals remain relatively solid at least. And looking at MVRV, I think we could do that at Band. So Band protocol been very hyped recently. So I saw a comment on it in chat. This is what Band protocol's price looks like. It's quite crazy. I think the reason why this happened is because Band is one of the biggest competitors to Chainlink, has kind of also been making its headway into DeFi space, and there's been scaled usage of Band in various DeFi protocols, and therefore I think in general people think that as DeFi rises, so will these Oracle networks, and so Band's price has been growing like crazy. So let's look at some of the fundamentals for Band and see where we are. First of all, I would not be surprised if I saw daily active addresses kind of going crazy. There we go, as expected. Pretty much ever since the rally. Let's look at the last year just to give you an idea of exactly how big this rise is. So this was Band from the beginning until now. So we saw a fairly idle start of Band's life, and then pretty much around July 1st, is when, as Band's price started to rise, the amount of addresses just skyrocketed. At its very top, it was how many? 772 daily active addresses. Not bad at all. All right. As far as the transaction volume, I would assume that it's following the same trend. The amount of Band being moved on chain probably rising as well as the price activity grows. By the way, obviously, a lot of these daily active addresses are going to be relatively, are going to be speculators. It's not just that, all of a sudden Band's purported utility has exploded and people have started using Band for whatever its purported use is more aggressively. Obviously, a lot of this is just speculative activity. However, even from that perspective, it's good to know that Band is being used by speculators and its speculative interest is growing. Let's look at the exchange inflow real quick. Okay, so there was one here, but ever since then we haven't really seen all that much, and I mean that's probably the reason why we are seeing this massive rise in Band. We haven't really seen all that much sell pressure. There was some sell-offs right at the beginning of the rally, which didn't really do much, but ever since, not really. Like Band has been able to sustain its upward momentum without anybody really selling their bags. Let's look at the amount of Band being available on exchanges over time. Yeah, it's dropped here, and then there was another drop right around here, and since then we've kind of been actually declining a little bit. So the amount of band available on exchanges has been going down. The amount of actual activity on the network has been going up. Therefore, it's not really all that surprising that we would see this sort of massive rise. Now, this is something that I'm relatively concerned about. Once again, as Max pointed out, this divergence between the daily active addresses and network activity is not something that's usually boding well for the price. So let's look at the old time for band to see if we can find previous examples of this last year. Okay, let's zoom in here. So, okay, let's look at these two in particular. We can first focus on this one because I think it's a good example. So essentially what this divergence means is we call it price DAA divergence, DAA standing as a shorthand for daily active addresses. So essentially what it means is that usually the amount of activity in the network is obviously going to rise with the price, right? The concerning sign, this is good, this is healthy. You see activity in the network rising with the price, speculators, just general band enthusiasts moving their coins in the network, interacting with the protocol, good. What's not great, or when it becomes concerning, is at this point where the price is rising and the daily active addresses are. However, at one point, the amount of activity in the network starts declining. So this was in April of 2020, right before the top here. So as the amount of addresses and general network activity started to decline, the price tried to push another top, and actually did. But it was unable to really do so any longer here. It only was able to hover at a new high for a few days before declining once again into pre-pump levels, because there wasn't really enough fundamental support for it to grow higher. Now, if we look at the last 3 months, this is a similar story once again appearing on Band's charts, especially here. If we look at yesterday and today, it seems like the general speculative interest in Band, as far as its on-chain activity is concerned, is starting to decline. Which, you know, if the price is really hoping to grow, should be a relatively concerning signal. Keep an eye on this in the days to come, but if we see the amount of Band's activity kind of revert back to pre-pump levels, it's not going to be great. Obviously, guys, everything that we're doing, we're only looking at a few metrics. Like, for example, we haven't looked at social stuff at all, pretty much throughout this call, just because I don't think there's enough time. But let's look at the amount of mentions of Band over time and see whether that tells us anything about its price action as well. So for those unfamiliar, what we do with social volume is we track over 1,000 different crypto social channels, and then we scrape over 100,000 messages every day. And so what you can do is you can click on social volume here, and you'll be able to see the total amount of messages that are related to this particular coin over time. So we can see here the amount of Band mentions was rising along with the price, and it peaked right around here. As the crowd kind of started becoming a bit too hyped, the confidence became a bit too irrational, and Band started to correct ever since. And once again, we're seeing the amount of Band-related mentions start rising in the past couple of days, which isn't necessarily a great sign. Usually, what you see in these coins is that they will top as the amount of chatter tops as well. So you can see here, for example, Band's top correlating very perfectly with the spike in social mentions. Similar thing happening here, similar thing happening here, and then pretty much the same thing happening here. So when we see this amount of, a new spike in the Band's social volume, it's something to be concerned of as well. Just because usually when the crowd is overhyping a coin, that's when the whales start really, dumping on the crowd. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen, or actually has happened already in the past couple of days. So in conclusion, for Band at least, I would keep an eye on its daily active addresses, its mean dollar invested age, to make sure that the crowd is actually still accumulating coins rather than distributing, and I would keep an eye on its social volume and exchange inflow. Those 4 metrics would give me a relatively good idea of what's going on the market at the moment, to be able to know whether it can grow higher or it's kind of going to dump. Okay, do we want to do one more before we go? Max, do you want to take another one from the crowds? Let's say, for example,
I was chatting there a little bit here
okay.
and there. Well, we can just end on a note we shared last time about Bitcoin dominance. It's still,
Oh, okay.
I will not share the chat, but
okay.
well, I can share the chat. Wait. Let me take over the screen. So we're still at the same no, here level which you mentioned, 61 to 63, but we're getting closer to 61. So now it's getting okay. Let me take a bigger time frame. So this is a long-term support. It was like around 62. We're getting here. I can take even longer time frame to explain why is it there. Wait, too much different. Yeah, it's like it was a resistance here back in September 18. Yeah, we yeah, and then we broke, and it was support one time, and now it's second time. So this is a level we really want to observe if alt season will make a firework. If it's broken, it will mean, yeah, we're in firework. But still has to be broken. And as we see now, this is exactly what happened in the kind of Bitcoin and Ethereum, trying to reclaim the ground from alt coins. And this game will continue. It's all about, and especially because Ethereum still considered to be altcoin, which actually I think it's not true anymore. This should be not Bitcoin dominance. It should be major dominance where Bitcoin and Ethereum are combined. But anyway, even without it, should be said that now it's a game between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and altcoins, and we see a lot of power coming back to these two big guys. We'll keep observing this chart. 62, 61 if broken. We will see the next stop will be only 54, yeah, if it's broken. And it's a long term, but I like to check it every second day just to see how close are we. And yeah.
I mean, it dipped just because of Ethereum, right? Pretty much everything else is.
Yes.
We haven't really seen all that many rallies in the past couple of days. It's really just been Ethereum. Yeah.
It's really just been Ethereum. Yeah. So this I think is important to pay attention. And of course, it was anecdotal again as soon as CZ and I don't know who else, everywhere you started to read altcoin season. Exactly what happened. Mostly of them are stopped, well, except I5. And then Bitcoin Ethereum pumping. Now, if we read that majors are back, okay, maybe the next wave of altcoin season is coming. Just check the major influencer, yeah, CoinDesk, CZ, I don't know, all YouTubers. I will not call the names. Some of them are our partners, but just major YouTubers, because many people listen to them and they have to cover the major topics. So if you see that some messages, okay, altcoin season stop when circle, okay, then it will change again. But for the moment, Bitcoin, Ethereum seems to be the game. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, but that's it here.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, guys, I think we're gonna have to end it there. We're already about 10 minutes over time. Sorry for anyone that we didn't really get a chance to cover their coins at this point in time, but if you're still interested in our analysis, just ping us on Discord. There's, as I mentioned, there's a link in the description of this video to our Discord channel where we talk about, trading different chart setups that we're seeing on a daily basis. So ask us there, or just join the discussion about the coins that we're already talking about there. I think you might find some interesting opportunities there that you didn't even know were possible or were approachable at the moment. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. If you're still here and watching us live, or if you're looking at this after the fact, be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel so we can prove to YouTube that this should be circulated on the platform a bit more in the future. Thank you all so much for joining us for this week's edition of This Week in Crypto. We'll talk to you all in 7 days, but in the meantime, check out santiment.net for all of the pretty much every metric that we've covered today is available on the platform, and join our Discord in the meantime so that we can continue this discussion over there.
Great stuff, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.